On to the topic of the night. Um, Someone knows me. Someone in the chat. I'll tell you about that later, Gray. Um, Moving on to the topic of the chat, we are going to talk about Tommy Sotomayor tonight. He Bulger. I think he's part of the Manosphere. Is that fair? Who is he?
Yes.
Tell me.
Tommy Sotomayor, he was one of the first. He's one of the first people in the manosphere, or what you would call the black manosphere. And he's always been controversial, temper issue. He can never like be respectful. If you get on his bad side, he just goes in. He's always getting kicked off YouTube. I don't think he is on any platform right now. He's been kicked off of everything. So he goes on different platforms like Fresh and Fit and still just like crashes out.
Well, his latest show this week. Dark light-skinned women are more attractive than dark-skinned women. Prove me wrong. Bulger, I think you have a very beautiful wife, and she's not light-skinned. Do you agree with this comment that he made? I think it's very offensive and wrong and rude, but I'll let you respond as the man on the call.
As I keep saying, there are opinions, there are preferences. Maybe that's his preference. So something like that, I would never take serious because some of us prefer light skin, some of us prefer dark. So I feel like he's, like I keep saying, the emotion. He's just trying to spark. He just trying to get clout and yeah, get people to come to watch his stuff. That's all I feel like that is. And that's what he's good for. He's controversial. He's good for that.
Gray, what's your thoughts?
It depends on who you're talking to. I mean, me growing up, you gonna hear people always say red bone in a like better manner. I mean, like, but of course, you have dark skinned women that guys think are extremely attractive. Like, I think Gabrielle Union, like, a lot of guys liked her. Like, I think it also depends on the demographic of guys, black men that you're talking about and who they're gonna choose. Because there's some black guys that won't even date a black woman at all. They'll just go with a white chick or
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah, the one on the one of our cast member. I don't know where he's at. He was supposed to come tonight. I wanted him to talk on this. I guess he
Did
got
you text
scared.
them?
Yeah, I'm like, where are you? Like, because we spoke earlier, and he says he was excited. I don't know. He must be taking another nap. But let me play this first clip. And I'm not being funny. He literally missed last night due to a nap. He's gonna talk about it and to say his position. I'm playing it now.
Light skinned girls in general are more attractive than dark skinned girls. Y'all can try to prove me wrong. But light skinned girls in general are more attractive than dark skinned girls. I'll explain. I put up a picture of all white girls and all black girls from the Jamaica running team. The black people came to me and they said, well, that's a problem. You put really pretty white girls and you didn't put really pretty black girls. We have plenty of pretty black girls. I said, okay, send me a picture. He sent me a picture of the United States track team. There was a problem. Two of the chicks in the United States track team were biracial. One of them's in a relationship with a white man. I felt like the third one was the most attractive because I'm a black man that's attracted to black women. But I'm also not stupid. I also know that the fourth one, the one on the far right, looked like a nigga I used to change oil with. That nigga was hell getting the filter in and out. She does not look like a female. She looked like a dude, a fella. Like she's got a penis. Like you tell her to bend over, she'd be like, no, you first. She looked like she'll say, suck my dick and mean it.
You're muted.
I can't take anymore. I'm so sorry. But this is the ignorant scum that this guy is. To me, this is disgusting. Who are the losers that watch this? Booker,
Yeah,
do you watch this guy? Please tell me you don't.
I haven't
Jesus.
I haven't watched this man since like 2017. He's been around that long, and it's just because he has no type of discipline. and he would just get the yelling, and it just got to be feminine to me. So I've canceled him a long time. When he first started, he made sense, and then just went off like he got some mental illness or something. So I'm not surprised.
Vulgar.
Someone in the chat wrote,
I
someone
feel
wrote,
like you.
would
Go ahead. Go ahead.
would love to hear some call-ins from darker skinned women to settle the matter. Obviously, dark women look as attractive as lighter skinned women, obviously. But Gray and me produced the show. Gray, we reached out to lots of women, right? We couldn't get anyone, unfortunately, to come on that were darker skinned because we knew the controversy behind this. And then I said, I agreed we reach out. His response was because they don't feel like having to validate themselves. After the past 10 to 15 years, dark skinned women shut down the noise. But I think there is a renewed thing in this with everything going on Twitter space with what's that guy named Myron Gaines and the things he's saying. So I'm not making this a topic. This is what is the topic right now, unfortunately.
Right. And like we have somebody dark skinned girl coming onto the show that's a black Israelite. We just have to confirm. We go off of a schedule and we go off of what's trending. So it's kind of hard. Like we literally just added Mia to the show. It's her first time on the show. But we added her to the new party, but it's just what's trending. But vulgar, what I feel as far as the manosphere, you being the manosphere guy, I feel like this is what the manosphere is all about, to say the most controversial topics that people talk about with your name in the locker room talk. And then, that's what they get to incite men and for men to follow them.
I think the toxic side of it is what gets in the press, like what people are gravitating to. Like I said, if you go to, I send you some links to some of the guys I listen to. They're older, they're not yelling, and they're not doing all this other stuff. They just speak the truth. Some of it is controversial, but it's not like disrespectful.
Well, let's get the light skinned girl's opinion. Mia, you look light skinned. What's your thoughts on this?
Uh, I mean, it's, the simple fact is a lot of Black men do feel that lighter skinned women are more attractive because of the close proximity to whiteness and your more Eurocentric features, which comes from colonialism. It isn't anybody's particular fault. It's not our fault. We were literally dragged here from another continent and then forced through suppression to assimilate. And unfortunately, the colonizers were white, Eurocentric people. So that's what we value. And I feel like that's why over the last 50 to 60 years, there are a lot more biracial people in of all mixings because everybody's trying to get more Eurocentric features into their gene pool and into their family.
I feel like certain, like some hood guys, some of them they just gonna go straight for hood chicks, and most of the times that they go be of a darker complexion. But there are some guys, and for lack of a better term, I feel like more proper white acting black guys definitely shift towards a lighter demographic. And I mean, it's certain features that people may just like, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's toxic. The colorism is just toxic in the community in itself. And Nora, I'm pretty sure you've suffered from that.
Yes, I get it a lot. I get it on all ends. I get it from white people. I get it from black people. I get it from everywhere. So, hey, shouts out to me. I'm just like the chameleon in the group. And if I talk about it, I get told, don't complain about it. So who cares? But I'm going to play this clip because Mia, you touched on something about colonialism. And this has to do with what's called colorism. We're going to define what colorism tonight and transition over to a clip by Dr. Umar.
Experienced discrimination more times than any other minority group. In 1983, Alice Walker introduced the term colorism, which is prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. Literature suggests this stems back to slavery when slave masters awarded special privileges to African Americans of a lighter skin tone. Colorism isn't just a relic of history. It's a pervasive issue affecting people's lives today, from marriage to job prospects. Research shows that dark-skinned women face lower marriage rates, while wage gaps also exist between lighter and darker-skinned men. Shockingly, skin tone even influences prison sentences, with darker-skinned women receiving harsher punishments. Discrimination starts young. Dark-skinned girls are 3 times more likely to be suspended from school compared to lighter-skinned peers. And it doesn't stop there. Colorism can even warp how we're remembered. For example, job interviewers are more likely to recall educated black individuals as having lighter skin, regardless of their actual complexion. This ongoing issue takes a toll. Darker-skinned individuals experience more microaggressions, impacting their mental well-being. But what's more surprising is how colorism is not just an external problem, it's internalized within the community, affecting how we perceive and treat each other. Understanding colorism requires examining how we see ourselves, a perspective that varies across communities. According to sociologist Margaret Hunter, even the self-perception of skin tone can be a complex issue, relative to one's social context. So, as we grapple with colorism's implications, we must also confront the underlying biases, both external and internal, that fuel this troubling phenomenon. Colorism is a double-edged sword that cuts both ways. It's perpetuated by broader societal structures and also exists within the black community. While many
So yeah, that's what colorism is. I wanted to set the foundation. Um, Gray, what's your thoughts on colorism? I know we talked about it on a personal note that things you've seen in your own family, even with your children. What's your thoughts?
I mean, my mom is dark skinned. My ex-wife, my baby mom is half black, half white, and my children are pretty fair skinned. I would say I don't feel like they've dealt with, something directly where it was like colorism because we live in Florida and, it's such a Hispanic culture down here. People, they deal with people thinking that they're Hispanic. But I'm not sure. I mean, like, I could say that the superficial, no, I haven't experienced colorism in my life. But am I going to tell the truth? Like, when it was time to like get in a fight or something, if somebody was dark skinned and ugly, was I a little bit more like, oh, I might get beat up right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the realness of it. It comes off a little bit more intimidating. I don't know if that's natural instinct or I don't know if that's been ingrained in us. I can't give you an answer on that. What about you, Mia?
I would definitely say that colorism, first and foremost, is absolutely alive and well in America, and I would say, definitely a deep-seated issue in the Black community, but also in other BIPOC communities as well. I will say I personally have absolutely benefited from colorism because we have to call a spade, and I have to hold myself accountable. I have absolutely benefited from colorism. So I am a product of a biracial relationship. So my mother is white and my father is black. My dad, as people would say, is blacker than the ace of spades. So he is very dark. But my mom is half Greek and half Scottish, so she's actually pretty fair skinned with curly hair. So I'm on the lighter end of that. And I know that has helped me gain access into spaces that I know I probably would not have been accepted. And I understand having lighter skin almost makes me more palatable for moving into certain spaces when I am in certain spaces with white people. For absolutely, I know I am a positive recipient of colorism, but the double-edged sword to that is that I am never black enough for the black community unless they want my vote. So it's kind of, I don't really fit in anywhere because I'm too black for white people, but I'm not black enough for black people. So I'm kind of marooned on an island by myself with all of the other biracial people.
Vulgar?
I will say, anytime we used to joke and play with the light skinned men, dark skinned men, I was always putting the light skin. But I'm gonna be a little controversial here. So, because we say it's a problem, colorism, and besides Tommy being disrespectful, which we all agree he was, To me, it's almost the equivalent of when women say they don't want a brokey. So like the preference of light skin, dark skin, if that is true, a lot of men feel offended when you have women say they don't want a brokey. Like the man got to have money or he got to be a finished product. If you don't make this amount of money, if you're not gonna pay for this, not pay for that, I kind of feel like it's like if we looking on both sides, it's kind of equal. And I will
How,
say
Wow.
that the African American community is not the only community that deals with this. In Mexico is like that. Lighter skinned Mexicans get treated better. So it's kind of a thing that exists in most places probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of, because I work in the healthcare system, and I have a lot of friends that are of Asian descent, but they're what you would call, it's going to be controversial when I say this, but dirty Asian. So you're thinking like darker, like Filipino versus Japanese, who are incredibly light skinned. And they also deal with a ton of colorism within their communities, especially if you look at Asians from, like, when I say Indian, I mean from India,
Yeah.
and they deal with the same thing. They are constantly trying to, I guess, breed themselves lighter because naturally that entire part of the world are actually very dark, like extremely complexion wise. They have a lot of melanin. They're very dark in that
Can we bring
center of the
Serena
planet.
Williams in this? I said,
Nora?
can we bring Serena Williams into
Well,
this?
Oh,
Hmm. Yeah, for me, it's the exact opposite. I'm glad to hear that you benefited from it, but I grew up in the hood and around primarily Black people, Hispanic people, people of color. Wasn't many whites around, and for me, it was the opposite. I experienced extreme color, the opposite side of colorism. I'm going to play the clip by Dr. Umar, and he breaks it down. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Dr. Umar is going to say in the clip. There's two sides to it. There's the extreme side where I've seen dark skinned women be treated very terribly, and I will acknowledge that. And then the extreme side, when you're extremely light, you get treated on the other side of it. And for me, I personally have always been told, like I can relate with Mia, that you're not. White people say, "Well, I know you're not white. Like, what are you?" And Black people say, "Oh, you're not Black." And I've experienced that my whole life. And I grew up with a Black. Well, for me, she's Black, a Jamaican mother with African descent. So I have seen both sides of it. And I'm gonna play this clip from Dr. Umar where he breaks it down and he talks about the both sides of the coin.
You don't hear this conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
yes,
now, what
sir.
do you mean by that?
Black men are extremely biased against dark-skinned black women. I've been in rooms, I've been in events, and this is a global phenomenon too. It's not limited here, it's a pan-African issue. I've been in spaces, right, where there might be 3 or 4 sisters over there. They are all attractive. But the dark sister, in some cases, stunningly beautiful. Stunningly beautiful. And the brother would always go to one of the lighter ones just because she was like. I've seen this repeatedly and consistently. I hear young men say they only date light skin. Look
Oh,
at
yeah.
look at the gangster rap community. Many of our prominent gangster rappers have at least one song where they either condemn dark skinned women or promote light skinned women.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, he has a song earlier years where he says he only dates the wavy light skin.
Yeah.
Him being with Beyonce is not an accident. He probably would never consider a dark skinned woman. I'm not trying to say Mr. Carter is a light skinned supremacist, but going off of his lyrics, he may definitely qualify for one. Our dark skinned sisters, who are just as beautiful as our browns and our yellows, are being overlooked by black men because they don't have a complexion that approximates the slave master.
That's, and we never really talk about, and
And it has permeated the black consciousness community. I'm going to put my black conscious people on blast too. And by black consciousness, I'm loosely referring to all the brothers who claim to be woke in some way or another, including scholars, elders, and youth. If you go through the conscious community, 99% of all the conscious talking heads have women who can pass a brown paper bag test. You're not going to tell me it's a pure coincidence that most of our black scholars, most of our young conscious brothers in the YouTubian world, You can't tell me it's purely coincidence that 99% of them have women who can pass the brown paper bag.
Gray, what's your thoughts?
I feel like we have to talk about actual stereotypes. I know we're kind of like skipping around it. We don't got Slim here to say to disparage your remarks about stuff. So basically, dark skinned women are associated with hood activity, being loud, all types of behavior that your typical man doesn't want. Those are the stereotypes that are put on black women, and that's what black guys say that they don't want to deal with, and especially when they're talking about white women and lighter skinned women. I mean, for me personally, I mean, I grew up dating all types. And then when I met somebody, and she was like, "Oh, you're attractive, but you need to like sell some whatever, whatever." So it's certain stereotypes that's tied to certain groups. That's what I would say.
Oh man, the chat's coming for you, Gray.
I didn't say that's how I felt. I said that's what people say. I mean,
Somebody wants to come on.
like,
Yeah, he trying to come. I want to say,
Ugh.
like I said, I keep bringing it back because somebody in the chat said what I said last time. What does it have to do with colorism as far as a man's situation? The thing is, you don't hear this on the men's side. You don't hear this light skin, dark skin situation when it comes to men.
Right.
So that's why. And then Dr. Umar said
Yes, you
something.
do.
I mean, they'll say light skins in right now or dark skins in right now, but we don't take it. We don't really trip off of it. It's more the women who get offended and trip off of it. But he had said something about there's rap songs, and I don't. I take Dr. Umar with a grain of salt. He's a grifter to me too. Um, he said something about like in rap songs they disrespect
Exactly.
dark skinned women. But what about the Destiny's Child, the Scrubs, and all that? It's on both sides. It's just to me, it's a preference thing. A lot of men
Well,
don't
I
want. They don't want. It's not all. Like I said, my wife is dark, so
Right.
it's not
And that
all.
yeah,
But
chat,
that could be a
let's talk
preference,
about
and
that.
women, yeah,
Vulgar, give Vulgar a pass. His wife is dark skinned, so he's not saying it in a hateful way. He's just saying his experience and things he's seen because they was going in on you comparing the whole broke thing to dark women.
yeah. So that's all.
Neil,
I'm just trying to take up for them. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. That's what I'm doing. What I'm saying, it
mm-hmm.
exists on both sides, and I think it's something where I'm almost like you just got to be confident in yourself. As a dark skin, you just got to be confident and move accordingly. Light skinned women, whatever. Even with the guys, you just have to be confident. I think we put too much time into these type of situations, and somebody like Umar is just making money off of it.
Mia, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it is interesting. Sorry, for like the correlation between potentially between men being brokies and like obviously colorism when it comes to women. And like the thing is about finances is you can always change your finances. You can't. I mean, I guess I suppose you could do skin bleaching, but that's set
Yeah,
aside.
yeah.
You can't really change your
Serena Williams did
color.
it.
I mean, you are who you are, and you're kind of just like rolling with it. At least like men that are broke can elevate their financial status through hard work and determination. But I mean, if you're a dark skinned woman, I mean, you gotta roll with that. There's no, you know,
But
you're
that's what I'm
dark, you're
saying.
dark. If you're light,
You
you're
just have to,
light.
yeah, you just have to be secure within it, and just
But
understand that men are gonna feel. We can't change how men think or what their preference is. This is just gonna be a thing. We're trying to force men into something that they don't want. It is what it is. Just like a lot of women don't want to. They want a guy that makes now it's 10 million, but it's just how it is. You can't change somebody, force somebody preference. I don't think you have to be disrespectful like Tommy was about it. But I think that's what I'm trying to say. You can't force somebody to or dark skin if they don't like dark skin. That's just like people in California. If you in LA, you tend to date light skin. If you're in
I
different parts
feel
of the
like
country, Atlanta, you going more for the backside. and it don't matter the skin color as long as you got the backside.
I feel like men get attacked more. Nobody talks about the fact that light skinned guys, if they like black girls, dark skinned girls, they normally go for the darkest girl. Obama chick is dark. Like when you see like a light skinned guy like dark girls, they normally go for the dark girls. But nobody says anything about that. Nobody complains about that. Nobody says, "Oh, Candace Owens' husband is white." But if a black dude go get a white girl, then it's a massive problem. So
Hmm.
like, why can the women date whoever they want? Meghan Markle gets a slap on the back, a high five, girl, do your thing. But if a black dude do that, he's the scum of the earth.
You know why? I want to jump in.
Yeah.
Men don't care. Women do. Women have to. My grandfather told me if you with the woman and there's like a long peacetime, he's like, you better create a situation. You better create a conflict in there somewhere. Them
Imma
invested.
tell you
And
why
that's what it
women
is.
care. When I went on my cruise recently, every black man I saw was with a white woman. Every single one. Every single one. And Imma leave it at that. Imma land the plane there. That's why they care. And men say, "Oh, we talked about this vulgar, the stereotype about black women. Oh, this, oh, that." But then when I hear there's talk about their trauma stories with the white women that they hooked up with, it's the same things. So I'm like, you going through the same thing. And I'm not saying you should be, prejudiced and not date, like only date within your race. But there are brothers that say I don't date black women, period. And to me, that's I don't know. I
You know what?
can't get behind that. That's self-hatred.
A lot of that, 'cause they had a black mother who the father wasn't around, and they just disrespected the son, and the son just rebelled against any black woman. I've had this in my family. And seen it. Yeah,
Well,
and
I
their
Yeah.
mean,
cousins they would not date a black woman because their mother was so mean to them.
I mean, that's absolutely possible for sure. I mean, statistics tell us that Black women almost exclusively date Black men and get married to Black men, overwhelmingly. Like the majority of Black women prefer their partner to be of the same race as them. So when Black men become passport bros or they exclusively date lighter skinned women or white women or date outside their race, it puts black women in a really crappy spot because they almost exclusively want to be married in within their race, but they're realizing they have no partners, which creates discontent, judgment, and also feeds into the colorism now because this darker skinned woman is realizing she's losing out on mate potential to the white women, the Latino women, but also the women like me who are lighter skinned. So it is creating this massive division within our own culture. So it is that's why women care so much, specifically black women, because they're seeing their eligible bachelors dwindle. But then we also have to talk about the pool of eligible men. So when it comes to black men, they're at a massive disadvantage in the United States because overwhelmingly a higher percentage of them are incarcerated. They could potentially have felonies. When it comes to graduation rates, whether it be high school or college, they're lagging behind Black women exponentially. We are outpacing them in college degrees, certifications, graduation, and pay. So that also puts the pool of eligible bachelors even thinner. So now instead of having 10 men, now you're really down to four who match you in education and financials, and then three of them are only exclusively looking for lighter skinned women or women outside their own race. So that leaves one, and then you have 10 black women fighting over that one black man. So it's just like a really crappy situation for black women to be in. And I think that's why they talk about it so much, is because it impacts them. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people do want to have a family, but it really sucks if you don't have any mate availability. And I think that's why we hear Black women talk disparagingly about Black men seeking mates outside of their race.
Can I want to say something,
Mhm.
and I agree with Vale in the comments. Black men overall do want black women, and a lot of black women are escaping accountability Nora and I had this conversation. Only 6 to 10% of black men are incarcerated. But then you have black men, black women are really being rebellious. If you have like Sexy Red, Lotto, a lot of these rappers in their lyrics and the collective of the black woman, I feel like they're separated. They want to be their own race. So even if the individual woman may not like that to the man up front, but it's a collective mentality to where a lot of black women are unbearable. You have to have a black woman who has denounced feminism, who has denounced the sisterhood, and who wants to be under the provision and protection of a black man. A lot of black women are with the thing college. When they say it, it's like a competition. We got the degrees. We own homes. We own more homes than black men. We own this. We got this more than black men. That is a competition divisive mindset to have instead of getting with a black man and working because I don't have a college background, but I can build a car from the ground up and money doing that. So
I don't care about college degrees. My boyfriend doesn't have a college degree, and I'm okay with that.
uh,
So that's not why I made that comment. I made that comment because you were putting black women down, and I was defending them. And I
I
said
didn't.
that black women are the most educated because the last topic we had was about the things that Myron Gaines said. And so I was closing out and I was saying black women are the most educated and the most startup businesses are black women. And your response to that was they're also the most evicted.
And
So
the reason why I said that is because they're not trying to get with black men to buffer that, to buffer the bills, a buffer. They're trying to do it on their own, and it's hard. That's why I said that. It's not talking every time I say so doesn't mean that I'm dogging out women. I'm speaking the truth. If you look it up, black women are the most evicted, and it's because they're not working with the black men.
Well, we have to ask ourselves why black women aren't working with black men and like the
I just told you.
catalyst to that.
I just told you
Well,
with
I
Sexy Red and have you listened to like Lotto? It's a song that she had. It's popular, and all it talks about it. I don't listen to a man for shit. Yeah, I forgot what the lyrics was, but these are the lyrics now. What's the other one that was? She got the annoying voice, sound like Huey or Rowley from Boondocks. Cardi B. She's the same way. A lot of the
well
women who are in
also
Hollywood. Look at the what's the Jennifer Lewis.
well,
Uh, a lot of these women with the election, instead of being like, okay, why are black men going conservative? Is there a reason for it? Instead, they're like, no, you're hurting us. You're going against us. Instead of listening, and that as men, we have an innate, it's inside of us to be leaders. So when y'all come together as a collective and attack us for voting differently, that is that rebellion. Y'all are very combative. I know y'all hate to hear it, but that's a lot of what's going on, and nobody wants to address that.
well, I think the I agree with what you're saying, mostly to an extent. I will say, I mean, the reason that there's so much division within our community as a whole is because that's by design from the United States government. Back LBJ did that in the 60s. Like, so I mean, it's some of it isn't even our like when I say it's not our fault, I'm not saying we're not complicit. I'm saying between the media, the news, the government, they have literally done everything to break our community in half.
And the black women
And
are they're eating it up. I told my wife
well,
the other day, I was like, a woman will say real quick, I'm about to get this new job, and I got to go to orientation and get training.
mhm, of course.
But if a man say, hey, let me train you, they get offended.
Uh,
If they're supposed to be
I
the help
mean,
me and come into the relationship, and we need to show you what to do as far as to make the household work, that's offensive. But you'll go
well,
to a
I mean,
corporation and give them all your energy.
I mean, it's about perspective. I mean, like the statistical fact is Black children are born to single parent households more than we ever have compared to even 60 years ago. So to say that men, like Black men, are inherent leaders, who are you learning to lead from because your daddy's not there? So is it your mom? I mean, I'm not saying it to be, I'm not saying
No,
it to be mean or to be rude, but statistics tell us who are you learning to lead from? Because statistic tells me your father didn't sign your birth certificate, so your mother was your head of household. So
I
it
get that.
seems like we're in this like weird situation where we have a group of men that want to lead, that have the capacity to, but they've never had a strong male leader in their lives to teach them the ways to lead. But they also have all of these independent women that they have because, you know, they are also from the same single mother households where they had to watch their mother be the leader in that as well. So what would be your advice, and this is
I
just me curious, so what would you say to black men in order to get them into that leadership role as like a whole?
I think it's happening now. But like with the manosphere, like I said, y'all focus on the toxic parts of it, but there are very content creators that shows about stoicism, being a man, and we don't focus on them. There's a Bedros Killian. He's a guy, and he that's all he talks about. If you look him up, he talks about men going through the tough things and struggling a little bit to get better, and just being that man in life is not easy. Um, because the fathers are gone. So I think a lot of these content creators are the ones that stepping in. To me, water seeks level. And I
I,
challenge y'all to go look. I'm gonna send some links, but I challenge y'all to go look up some of the healthy content
Yeah, I
out
would
there.
like you to send it.
Yeah.
I'm implored to go research it now and go see. And if I find one bad thing, I'm calling it out because I'm going to tell you. I already
It's
know
gonna
about the
sound bad.
manosphere.
It's just like
Oh,
how it used to be in the household. The mother would raise a child, and then around 12 or 13, the father would come get that child, especially if it was a son, and he would raise him because some of the things would seem offensive.
for sure.
Yeah, so that's
well,
some things are going to seem offensive to you,
Go
okay.
but
ahead,
it's just
Noah.
the reality.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
The real, yeah, that it's the reality. There's no accountability for men anymore. It's all the women. But I'm gonna switch
I
gears
keep
here.
saying, no, we
And
we are accountable. We are always accountable.
okay.